I watched the CNN special report, The Assault on Democracy, The Roots of Trump's Insurrections. And it opened my eyes to the threat that we had back then and the threat that we still have now. All because one man ran for president, became president, filled his entire presidency with conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, poisoned the 2020 election with the same kind of conspiracy theories, and those conspiracy theories being egged on by propaganda from his cohorts in politics, television media, social media, and so forth. Now, we saw what happened on January 6th. We all did. The certification, basically a rubber stamping of the votes to make Joe Biden the president of the United States, an election that he won. Now, we all saw what happened after the speech that Donald Trump called for peaceful protests just once in the 45-minute speech of his on Pennsylvania Avenue. It was not peaceful. It was an assault on our democracy, on our country, in order to reinstall Donald Trump as president. But this special I saw on CNN gave us something much more into the insight of the people who actually attacked the Capitol. Now, they had all kinds of rationalizations saying that they believed that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And all of them saying that they don't recognize Joe Biden as the president of the United States, regardless of the election. Now, they came from all walks of life. Current and former military members, cops, former cops, even Christian ministers. All of them believing the lie, the monumental lie that cannot be proven, that hasn't been proven by anyone. But the most telling is the family members of the insurrectionists saying that they were domestic terrorists, but more on that later. And that the woman that so many Donald Trump supporters are screaming about, Ashley Babbitt, a former United States Air Force airman, who was an Obama supporter, but became a far-right conspiracy theorist for QAnon, one of their main supporters of Donald Trump. But more of that later. Let's get to the genesis of all this. The true birth of what happened on January 6 wasn't on January 6, 2021. It wasn't even when Donald Trump became president in 2016. The birth of this was January 20th, 2009. The election and inauguration of President Barack H. Obama. Now, this special showed how mentioned his election sparked this movement of hatred that led to Trump's election, but it was also the beginning of the Tea Party movement. The rise of the alt-right with sites like Breitbart and the further expansion of Fox News. And the creation of Cambridge Analytica. Now, in case you don't know what that is, Cambridge Analytica analyzing the voting patterns and who to target through Facebook on who to go for when it comes to voting. It also helped design with the rise of Donald Trump's candidacy in 2016 with the lie that the American way of life, our way of life, was being assaulted. And millions of Americans, all of them Trump supporters, fell for that lie. But it wasn't the first lie. The fact is, even though after in 2016 he won the election, he won the electoral college votes against its then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, he still wasn't satisfied, tweeting that she got illegal votes because he lost the popular vote. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? From day one of his presidency, conspiracy theories rose, hatred rose. Everything that this man could talk about was conspiracy to him. And of course, it started the two famous words in the Donald Trump's language: fake news. I.e., anything that wasn't with him was against him. But the real problem is they interviewed these people who invaded the Capitol on January 16th, and every single one of them are facing some very serious charges. More on that later, but a few of them kept saying that he was ordained by God to be president of the United States. That he was a president who fought for the forgotten people, whoever the forgotten people are in their eyes. And of course, the rise of QAnon, QAnon, whoever the hell this guy really is, getting the support of Donald Trump himself was a green light for them to still continue their lies. Lies that Ashley Babbitt brought to her death. Again, more on that later. And of course, last year with the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, it got worse. The biggest lies were shown that Trump lost automatically, that if Trump actually lost the 2020 election, automatically it's rigged against him. That if he lost the election just because he didn't get many more votes than the other guy, he lost. It was rigged. It was all rigged. No question about it. It was rigged. And not only did Donald Trump say this, the right-wing media, QAnon, and every one of them who support Donald Trump, including members of the Senate and Congress, actually believed it too and actually continued to transmit that lie. After Biden was elected, calls to say the election was fake all of them traced back to Donald Trump. Even we heard calls for civil war. All of it setting the stage of what happened on January 6, 2021. Trump on Twitter before January 6 said to be there and be wild. The Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, QAnon, along with all other Trumpers from everywhere around the country did so. All under Donald Trump's orders. Now again, on January 6, 2021 was just basically a rubber stamp. Just saying, we know that Joe Biden won the election. We're going to say that he did. Obviously, there would be challenges. And during that situation, Donald Trump gave his speech on Pennsylvania Avenue. To his credit, he used the phrase peaceful protest, but he used it only once in that speech. But he also continued to feed the lie, a huge lie, that Vice President Mike Pence can overturn the election, and thereby violating the United States Constitution to do so. Then we saw the attack from the vantage points of the cops and the attackers especially. The complete chaos that Trumpers pushed for the fight that Trump actually wanted to happen. I know there are people out there who will say they didn't want chaos like that. Crap. Trump wanted this kind of chaos, and he showed it. Now, again, from the vantage point of the cops, they were trying to protect senators and congressmen. Going through the halls, they went step by step into the Capitol, showing how Capitol police officers saved their lives. Now, the interviews of the staffers were really potent. Now, by staffers, I mean the staffers of Nancy Pelosi. We saw the video of one of the attackers screaming in a very Jack Torrance The Shining sort of way, "Nancy! Oh, Nancy! We're coming for you!" Now, showing the Oath Keepers marching in the Capitol building, assaulting Capitol police officers. Those that survived told their story. And of course, we also heard the story of Officer Brian Sicknick, one of the officers who died a day after the Capitol attack from a stroke. A stroke that could have been perpetuated by spray being pushed into his face. Mace, bear mace, something. But things got worse. About an hour into the attack, Donald Trump tweeted that Mike Pence would not change the votes, would not violate the Constitution, would not say that Trump is the victor. In that very moment, a gallows was built, and you can hear the chants of "Hang Mike Pence." But then they give us the last moments in the life of Ashley Babbitt. As rioters tried to break into Congress, where members of Congress were actually being protected by Capitol Police, one of the Capitol Police officers opened fire. She was hit and she died. Now, her brother actually interviewed with CNN, and he is just as sad and as angry at Trump pushing her to do this that led to her death. All because of a lie she believed that Trump pushed. But she wasn't the only one. As I said earlier, Officer Sicknick and others died that day. Hours after the break-in into the Capitol, Trump tweeted a backhanded idea of calling for peaceful protests, saying that they are the party of law and order. And it fell on deaf ears. Even after the violent videos are shown, Trumpers still to this day, months afterward, are still denying that violence took place that day, that Trumpers were violent that day. And they even go even further, saying that Trumpers weren't even there, saying that it was Antifa and Black Lives Matter that was involved in that riot. Even after his defenders in the Senate and Congress literally begged Trump to say something, to do something, to stop this, not on Twitter, but in person, on video, live, to stop this, Trump didn't do it. And the attack continued. But even hours after that backhanded request for his supporters to stop, even afterwards, he still screamed that the election was stolen from him. Biden, of course, was elected president on January 20th, weeks later. But the threat is still alive and well. Just ask his supporters, who continue to lie, and continue to lie, and continue to lie on Donald Trump's behalf. Now, on January 7th, obviously, later on that night, the clock turned, and on January 7th, the election results were certified. And at that moment, Republicans who defended Trump from day one put the blame directly on the January 6th attack on Donald Trump, which was incredibly earned. But weeks afterward, and after multiple senators and congressmen, including the Republican minority leader in Congress, Kevin McCarthy, traveled to Mar-a-Lago, they did an about face and said Trump was not responsible. Even going forward with acquitting him in a presidential impeachment after mountains of evidence was shown that Trump was responsible. But what really got me about this special from CNN was almost the end of it. A mother, now I'm not going to say her name because of respect, but I will say this: a mother who's fighting leukemia. Her son, a former United States Marine, out of work, bad alcoholic. He became involved with the Oath Keepers. He became a huge supporter of the Oath Keepers. I mean, a huge one. He would listen to Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh before he passed away. But what really got me is that he, along with the other Oath Keepers, participated in this. And he is facing some very serious charges, perhaps the most serious charges that anyone else out of the 500 plus or minus people who participated in the Capitol attack. Now, I'm going to read you what she said as she weeps and disowns her own son. "He's not my son," she said, and I still have a hard time believing that he did what he did. If he gets 20 years in prison, he'll be 70 years old before he got out of there. I weep for this woman, not because her son's going to prison, but because she has to say this publicly. Now, my family, they'll be the first to say I'm not perfect, and I do a lot of things to piss them off. And I deserve some of their condemnation. But they have never hated me to this point. They never had reason to say anything like this to me. She also said that her son, now this hurt a lot. She said that her son is a domestic terrorist. She said that. I cannot imagine my own mother saying something like that about me, that I'm a domestic terrorist. That I can't imagine anyone in my family saying that about me on national television, burying me in the public eye. But she knows exactly who the source is. Now, he's responsible for his own actions, but he listened to one source. Again, quoting her, I'll hold that back on this. She says it's all Trump's fault, and she is absolutely right. It is Trump's fault. All of it. He pushed this attack by screaming, "If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country left." He pushed this attack for years, saying that the only way I'll lose this election is because it'll be rigged. Not because the other man got more votes in a contested election, but because it was rigged from him from the very beginning. He listened to it, and he acted on Donald Trump's words. But she said something else that was just as potent as this. And I hope you Trumpers are listening to what I'm about to say from her. Quoting, Trump does not care about any of those people who stormed the Capitol. For him, he does not care one bit about them, unquote. And she is absolutely, positively, 100% right. She is 100% right about that. Donald Trump has not said one word about the people who attacked the U.S. Capitol for him, other than to say later on in his speech in North Carolina, the fight is just beginning. But he's not the one who's going to be fighting. Donald Trump said on January 6th, I'm going to be with you when we march to the Capitol. He wasn't. He was at the White House laughing his ass off. There are photos, matter of fact, here are the photos right here of him, his son, and other members of the cabinet laughing their asses off at what happened at the Capitol. They were played like a damn fiddle by a man who pushed a lie because he knows that Republican voters, that even white Republican voters, people who deal in conspiracy theories from everything from the sky's color to the color of this vitamin water. It's all conspiracy when it comes to their minds. And he knew that, and he played them like a fiddle. There was never going to be a pardon from Donald Trump, even if he did win the election. Even if the election was overturned. Trump is not going to pardon them. He does not give a damn about any of them. I feel for this mother. I'm not a parent, so I can't testify to what I would say or do. But I feel for this woman. No parent should have to ever say that about their own child. That their child is a criminal. That their child is a terrorist. All because they listened to a man who fed them a bill of goods and walked away. Every American, every real American needs to watch this CNN special. I think CNN's got it on demand. I think they're going to replay it sometime during this week. I don't know. But sit down and watch the full 2 hours of this. Because as I said before, the threat is still out there. We're still going through the recounts in Arizona that have yielded nothing. We're still getting bombarded by Fox News, Breitbart, ONN, other media sites. QAnon is still being pushed. It's not being pushed as conspiracy theories. It's being pushed as political policy by Donald Trump's cohorts in the Senate and Congress. The threat is still out there. And they don't care what they will do in order to fight against our country. There's still screams of civil war for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like crack cocaine. This special will sober you up very damned quickly. Watch it. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.